Clay can pull data from a dozen sources, wire together custom enrichment logic, and automate almost anything you can describe, given enough time to build it. For a lean team without a dedicated operator, that same power is exactly why Clay Alternatives is the search that follows the free trial, right after the first attempt to build a workflow alone. For Clay's own pricing page, the launch plan, the first tier built for real usage past the free trial, runs $167 a month for 15,000 actions and 3,000 data credits. That's the entry price for a lean team past the free tier, and it buys you a blank canvas, not a finished list. Every workflow, the waterfall enrichment, the formulas, the conditional logic that decides which data source to try next when the first one comes up empty, still has to be built by someone before that $167 turns into contacts you can actually send to. Nothing arrives pre-assembled. The platform is the workbench, not the finished product. That gap is the real split to understand before comparing Clay to anything else. Clay is a build-it-yourself enrichment engine. You construct the workflow, and the platform executes it across whatever sources you've wired in. Quarvio is a buy-it-already-built list. You specify criteria, and a pre-verified batch arrives ready to import, with no workflow to construct first. Clay's ceiling is genuinely higher. For teams with the time and skill to build it, there's very little Clay can't eventually do, from multi-source waterfalls to fully custom scoring logic. Quarvio's ceiling is lower. It does one job, verified contact lists, but the floor is immediate. There's no setup between criteria and contacts in hand, and no workflow to debug before the first list ships. A verified buyer's review, cited in our research into Clay, captured the lean team problem precisely. Clay is legitimately the most powerful tool in our stack, but it took our RevOps lead 4 weeks to build our first reliable workflow and another month to get the credit consumption under control. Read that twice. 2 months of ramp-up from a team that already had a dedicated RevOps hire on staff specifically to own this kind of tooling before the platform started paying for itself in finished output. A lean team without that role isn't looking at a 4-week delay. They're looking at a tool that may never get fully built because nobody has the bandwidth to be the person who builds it. 4 things worth knowing straight from Clay's own pricing page before you compare it to a data vendor at all. First, different actions burn credits at different rates, and waterfall enrichment, trying multiple data sources in sequence until one succeeds, burns fastest of all. Second, launch is $167 a month for 15,000 actions, but only 3,000 data credits, so the two numbers cap you independently, not together. Third, tables are capped at 50,000 rows below the growth and enterprise tiers. Fourth, without someone who owns the workflow full-time, credit consumption tends to run high relative to finished, usable contacts. The tool works, but it works best when someone's watching it closely and tuning it as data sources change. Run the direct comparison for a lean team's actual entry cost. Clay's launch plan is $167 a month recurring for 3,000 data credits and a workflow you still have to build before any of those credits turn into a contact list. And growth. The next tier up jumps to $446 a month once the team's needs outgrow launch's row and credit caps. Quarvio's price for 5,000 pre-verified, ready-to-import contacts is $129 once, with no workflow required at all and no monthly recurrence to track. To be fair to Clay, for a team with a RevOps operator and a genuinely custom enrichment need, multiple data sources, conditional logic, ongoing pipeline hygiene, nothing else in this category matches what it can eventually do. It's specifically the lean team without that operator where the 4-week ramp becomes the real cost, long before the $167 bill does. So our verdict, plainly, Clay is the right tool if you have someone whose actual job is building and maintaining the workflow week over week. It's the wrong first purchase if you're a lean team that just needs a verified list right now, not a project to staff. In the stack we run, Quarvio supplies the contacts with zero setup required and no workflow to maintain, instantly handles sending and warm-up. Informail keeps the inboxes and authentication clean underneath. AimFox runs LinkedIn in parallel, off the email domain entirely. Buy the workflow tool when you have someone dedicated to run it every week. Buy the list when you don't have that person yet.